I'm Miss Collins. I'm here to talk to you about what I know about Woody Allen. First off, let me say that I really didn't know anything about Woody Allen until I took this class. I've heard a few things, that he done in film for many years. I've, know he was some sort of icon. I know he was very popular. I knew there was some sort of scandal, but really I didn't really learn. I didn't really know anything about Woody Allen prior to this class. First of all, Woody Allen is a genius. He's been doing this for over 50 years, and he's just an amazing writer, director. He's done all kinds of wonderful things. And I talked about that in my paper. But to kind of make up for not really including a lot of what he really puts into his films, I got this video. Um, Woody Allen, he's just a goofball. He's just a talent. He's Woody Allen. I mean, there's no one else kind of like that. And basically, he's kind of the nerd. He's kind of the goofball. He's kind of the hypochondriac. And you take some of his early films. I mean, um, we watched Take the Money and Run. And although you didn't add that to the schedule, that just shows who he was. And he's just the comic genius. The one-liners, all that stuff is just amazing. And he kind of puts himself into really all of his films here. Just going down the list of some of the films we watched. I'm just going to kind of say some of them. Just like Annie Hall was just great, and Diane Keaton was just amazing in it. He got to play who he was. I mean, he's the nerdy, goofy, kind of awkward guy trying to talk to the girl, and just that was him. That was him. I mean, he may say that he was the character and all that, but essentially that's Woody Allen directing Woody Allen, and you don't really get much of him putting himself into the films. Um, Later on, we watched Purple Rose of Cairo, and just that whole concept, which was one of my favorites actually. Um, he wasn't personally in the film, but you could just kind of see, um, you could kind of see who he was, just really come out through uh, that the character. I'm kind of blanking on the main character's name, but she was just fantastic, and the fact that uh, she was kind of nervous and scared, and not really sure about herself. And then she got to meet, Tom, and there was, I think his name was Mook, her husband, and I like to say it was the Gil, I think, the actor, just came in, and just the way she reacted, and trying to find her place in this world, and just sorry. I mean, that's all him. That's Woody Allen. I could see Woody Allen, being that case, and the fact that it didn't end happy just makes it really just true to life. And so I thought that was just great. The fact that they didn't just go off in the sunset. And I think Woody Allen's take on what's really life. Life don't always have your happy endings. Life is sometimes dark, and sometimes you kind of get the hand you're dealt with. That's Woody Allen. On that. Um, then we watched Hannah and Her Sisters, Crimes and Misdemeanors, and the Manhattan Murder Mysteries. Again, that's Woody Allen put himself in. Hannah and Her Sisters. He didn't have his best, personal relationships right, well done. Um, a lot of he's married 3 times. Uh, the whole Mia Farrow thing, he wasn't the expert on, um, relationships. And I think it comes out in Hannah and Her Sisters. Um, uh, Crimes and Misdemeanors was more of a darker take on that. Um, but he don't have relationships down. Bergman didn't. Woody Allen didn't, and they're confusing. They're hard. They're difficult. They're both crimes and misdemeanors, and Hannah and her sisters had infidelity and the whole cheating aspect, and um, so that's not necessarily him, but I can just see the complexity of those stories, and even murder mystery to an extent had the um, well, had him in it, but just the awkward comedy with serious undertones, that's definitely Woody Allen. We watched Bullets Over Broadway and Midnight in Paris. Those two personally were also just fantastic films. Um, I personally I kind of liked them a little better than say the Hannah and her sisters, but I see Woody Allen in all that. And it really definitely defines personal cinema. I mean, he puts his life and what he's done and everything from the stand up to that he did to really went well with his early comedies, and then he turned more serious and Bullets was just a great film, about who's really writing the story and um, the John Cusack character. Again, I just see that being Woody Allen, and that's why it's just fantastic. Also, Gil in Midnight in Paris is he's gotten older, so he don't really want to put himself in the films. I see that, but those lines that either one of those characters would say, he could have put himself in there, and it would have worked just great. And I think that's the reason why he used those actors because they could kind of portray what he would have done, whether if the movies were made at a earlier age, and they just fantastic job. And it's just that kind of maybe slightly kind of nerdy goofball Woody Allen, but also just seeing the art side of Paris or the big screen and what that really means to him, and trying to reflect that in the audiences, and the fact that he just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote, and we saw in the documentary how you might write something and jot it down on some notes, and if you don't like it, he'll throw it out, and he'll just come up with ideas all day. It's just fantastic. Of course, the last one being Blue Jasmine. Yeah, that one's kind of in the middle with me, just being honest. But I kind of like the take. He really wanted to write, I heard, from more of a woman's perspective, kind of what he did with Hannah and their sisters, and things just honestly kind of get more complicated. A woman's brain's just wired to look at more complex things. It's not better or worse than a guy's brain, but I'll say there's differences there, um, and just looking at it from the woman's perspective, and just how complicated, and how a person like Jasmine might fall into this fantasy of money and wealth and power and all that stuff, and just to come down to earth, and even when she's made to, she's still kind of delusional. And um, so personal cinema is really putting yourself into these films, and that's what he done with the ones we watched, and from what I've seen, that's what he's done his whole life. And just he's done different aspects. He's done the stand up comedy stuff. He's had trouble in his relationships. He's had you know several films about New York and that in Manhattan, and that's where he's from, and he uses what he has, and that's what any artist does. So from the comedies, which is him, to the New York backdrop, which is him, to seeing these complexities in human characters and stuff, relationships again, and just and even the scandal thing, just going into that and recovering from that. Just he's able to put himself into every movie he's made, and he's done it over 50 years. So that's his personal cinema, and so that's what he is. So here's to the great Woody Allen. I was glad to do Woody Allen. I thought they were fantastic films, and So that's Woody Allen's personal cinema from my perspective.